Matthews was the number one. He would have ruled the United States.
He's literally fallen off the face of the earth.
A lot of people looked up to Frank for probably all the wrong reasons.
In my opinion, Frank Matthews was a much larger drug dealer than Frank Lucas.
In 1971, Frank Matthews first came on the police radar, but only by luck.
Well, it was rather peculiar. Had a report from some precinct that there was some unusual going on in the apartment.
Alcohol in the 1920s, that gave birth to what we now know as organized crime in this country, the so-called mafia. In the 1960s, there became a huge demand for drugs in this country. That gave rise to a new kind of organized crime, what I call drug kingpins or drug lords.
When Frank arrived in New York, probably in 66 or 67, the city and
then arresting them. On one occasion, I was dealing drugs, and they came and took all my drugs and just let me go.
Who's that? 21 states, you know, with this huge network, and people were coming from all over the country to buy dope from him.
In the 70s, the advent of civil rights, when African Americans were becoming more prominent in business, the drug dealers wanted to do the same thing.
a study was done in the mid.
Under 30 years old, was extremely bright, had good leadership skills, and had convened a meeting of all of the top African American and Hispanic drug dealers in Atlanta, Georgia, in 1971.
And I assume that this meant that if
A family where they cut out the Italian mafia and went right to the source of heroin and brought it in and controlled the distribution.
Miami, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Atlanta, similar information was coming back. Some guy named Matthews was behind the local organizations in those cities.
And he had been identified as one of the largest, if not the largest, heroin trafficker in the United States.
There's been a lot of recent movies on Lucas being the king of drugs. That's not true. And Matthews was the number one heroin pioneer.
Nicky Bonds and all them, they wasn't nothing. He couldn't touch Frank. I don't know why they built him up like that. Nicky Bonds was supplying New York. Frank was supplying about 25 states.
Had he not been, his wings not been clipped,
Larger drug dealer than Frank Lucas.
so here you have a black guy.
Opportunities that the whites had.
So a lot of us took to what was available for us, you know, gambling, trying to pimp women, drug dealing.
I needed money. I like nice clothes, pretty women. They paid you, what, $1.55 an hour. And the only other way I knew to earn that type of money was in narcotics.
African American parents, my parents, marched with Dr. King, but that became